Now, I share my advice for my fellow dragons about how to design a dragon's lair that will demonstrate the dominance of Draconic majesty over the world of mortals. Most importantly, your Draconic lair is your own domain. You should design your lair in accordance with your powers. Are you a fire dragon? You should create your lair inside a volcano. Are you a forest dragon? Obviously, you should claim an ancient primordial forest as your lair. Whatever is your draconic power and elemental breath type, you should live in a place where the same elements permeate through the environment. By the time when any one of us will establish a proper lair, we already have achieved huge or perhaps gargantuan stature, and we have mastered the arts of flight. Accordingly, any draconic lair must be capacious enough to accommodate a dragon's presence and movement through the air. Additionally, some dragons swim beneath water or lava. In a dragon's lair, the physical proportions and the mode of movement are suitable for dragons, but not necessarily for any of the other lesser creatures of the world. You might consider to include footpaths and stairways that can make humanoid mortals feel as if they could enter and perhaps request an audience with your draconic imminence. But of course, they are entering a realm where they do not belong. Minions, cultists, and wyrmlings can be helpful to identify intruders and to defeat the most annoying of problems. Nonetheless, you cannot rely on them to manage everything about the outer defenses of your lair. For these reasons, I recommend to include natural hazards of the environment, such as fountains of magma, torrents of ice, or eruptions of acid, depending on whatever elemental powers are in your draconic lair. Anyone who belongs in your lair should be able to avoid these hazards, or at least to survive most of the time. In terms of knowing what happens in the surroundings, a dragon of a certain age can be attuned with the lair and with the larger region. An older dragon can sense and communicate with the elements of nature and draconic power that flow through the region of draconic influence. These elements resonate with each other and make the dragon aware of anything that happens and anyone who enters the realm. I recommend for your lair to include not only the main entrance, but also another entrance that only you can use. In my lair, I like to fly through a remote, high window in the far top of the cave where no other creature can reach. Sometimes I like to swim through a pool of magma that connects with a complex web of lava tubes. These options are useful for making a dramatic entrance or exit. Similar passageways sometimes can be helpful for your minions and supplicants to move more efficiently from one place to another. I advise to be cautious about allowing too many of these options, because adventurers always look for precisely these features as potential vulnerabilities when attempting to raid into a dragon's lair. On the other hand, a complicated network of interconnected passageways can cause the intruders to become lost, or they may become trapped and surrounded by your devoted cultists and hungry wyrmlings. This approach can be especially effective when combined with the natural elemental hazards of your draconic lair. Depending Depending on the numbers and types of minions and others in your lair, you may need to allow for them to include practical spaces for their living, working, and basic functioning. As long as they can contribute enough positive results for you, then you can evaluate whether you should allow them to continue living there, or else to be eaten. In most cases, a Draconic lair will need to include a place for meeting with others. The meeting hall should convey the grandiosity of your Draconic presence and power. Statues and other artworks can reflect your elemental nature and your personal history and accomplishments. Other dragons immediately will recognize your personality here. Humanoid mortals will feel small and insignificant within this grand space, rich with a history beyond their comprehension. Your meeting hall can be close to the main entrance, but it should be separated safely from your Draconic hoard. The Draconic hoard is the most sacred and potent place within any dragon's lair. In this place, you accumulate the treasures that are tied to the events of your life and imbued with your Draconic power. Whenever you slumber amongst your treasure hoard, then you absorb the memories and potency from your past, thereby rejuvenating your Draconic power and sustaining your life beyond the limits of ordinary mortals. Several zones of defense must be placed around your hoard, intervening between here and every possible point of entry. In this way, you can be protected against foolish adventurers and invaders, no matter how lucky or talented they may be. I leave you to make what you will of my advice about a Draconic lair. For now, I will return this YouTube channel to the hands of the mortal humanoid who ordinarily manages these mundane affairs. Yet, I will exercise my authority to resume control at any time of my choice.